What's up, going on, legends? Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'm bringing you guys the mission guide for the Tier 2 Legion faction. This one does consist of 7 total missions. Out of the first 6, you'll have to complete 5 of them in order to unlock that final mission. And once you complete that, you will unlock Tier 3 of the Legion faction. But if you've also completed Tier 2 for the White Lotus faction, you will then unlock Black Moss Tier 1. Before we dive into it, if you guys do enjoy this content anytime you find this video helpful in any way, make sure to show your support for the channel by going down below and smashing that like button. It's going to throw an easy goal of 100 likes on today's video, as well as if you guys like to find your way back to the channel for more Call of Duty content, make sure to hit that subscribe button, alongside that notification bell so we don't miss you in future videos. All right, first up, we have Into the Deep. This one's going to be 2 parts. Part 1 is asking you to kill 8 enemies while swimming in Ashka Island. Now, all this is asking you to do, and really the best way to go about it, is to go over to Ashka Island and head to one of the entrances of the waterway. Now, this one specifically is going to allow you to float at the surface, so you should still be able to fire your regular gun. You're just going to want to make sure that your body is in the water. Now, I kind of swam up towards one of the stair sets and kind of tried to take on the enemies one by one because they are on the sides of the waterway. You should be able to at least get the angles you need to eliminate them fairly quickly from just floating on top of the water with whatever rifle or weapon that you are using. Once you've eliminated 8 enemies this way, this part will be complete. Now, part 2 is going to take you over to Al Mazrah, and it's asking you to kill 4 enemies in underwater in Al Mazrah. Now, this one is a little bit more interesting as you actually have to be completely underwater in order for the eliminations to count. So this one will actually require you to have a handgun or pistol, as it is the only weapon that you could really fire underwater. Now, the location I chose to do this at was over by Half Port. I chose to use the Sea Vehicle gas station, as there are usually some enemies here, and I basically just tried to bait them to the edge and then sink myself underwater and fire a few bullets at them and hopefully eliminating them through the water. It's not going to be easy to be accurate, and it's also not easy to get the enemies to go towards the edges, but if you guys can find a better place on the map that isn't super highly contested, that way you guys aren't getting eliminated as you're trying to do this, you guys are more than welcome to go to that. I would have done it in Sawa Village, but I just felt like it was way too crazy over there, and it was more likely I would be eliminated than actually get the eliminations that I need. But once you guys get 4 eliminations while you're swimming underwater, this part will be complete. Next up, we have Anti-Air. This one's going to be 3 parts, and it's a repeat from a mission from last season. First part is asking us to capture a SAM site. You guys are going to want to open your TAC map. You're going to want to be looking for the emblem that looks like a little rocket. There should be multiples on the map. Go ahead and ping that. Go over to it. Clear the enemies that are guarding it. Go ahead and start that capture process. Once you complete the time period in which it takes to capture it, it will turn red and you'll know that you have captured the SAM turret, completing part 1. Now, part 2 is asking you to wait for your captured SAM site to shoot down an airplane. Now, there's those big airplanes that fly across. It's actually the same type that does drop the supply drops later in the match. You're going to want to wait for your SAM site to shoot one of those airplanes down, and then this part should be complete. And part 3 is asking us to loot a drop supply drop. Now, part 1, you capture that SAM turret. Part 2, that SAM turret then shoots down the airplane. That airplane that gets shot down actually drops a specific supply drop with the SAM site logo on it. You will need to loot the specific supply drop that your airplane drops, otherwise the part 3 will not count. This is how it was in Season 1. It could be different in Season 2, but I'm not going to take any chances, so make sure you guys are looting the supply drop that's dropped from the airplane that gets shot down. And then once you guys get that, this part and mission will be complete. Next up, we have Demolitions. This one is going to be a 3-parter, and it is also a repeat mission from last season. Part 1 is asking us to acquire a destroyed supplies contract. So if you open up your TAC phone, you're looking at the green contract phones, you're going to be looking for the one with the bomb on it. You basically just need to ping that guy, go over to it, and once you acquire it, part 1 will be complete. Now, part 2 is having you complete a destroyed supplies contract. So obviously in part 1, you acquire that contract, so you've already activated. Basically, it's going to send you to 2 different bomb sites that will be fairly heavily guarded. You want to eliminate the enemies there and then plant the bomb. Once you've planted the bomb at the first site, you can immediately go to the second site without worrying about them defusing it, because they can't do that. You'll go to the second site, repeat the process, plant the bomb. Once it explodes there, then the mission will be complete, and it will actually reveal some safes on the map. And part 3 is just going to have us open a safe. So once you've completed part 2, you will obviously get some nearby locations of the safes marked on your map. You'll want to open up your map, ping one of the locations of the safe that's closest to you, head over to that safe, make sure you eliminate all of the enemies that are nearby, because there's typically some guarding the actual safe. You'll want to activate the safe. You'll guard it for the specific amount of time. Once that safe opens, you will obviously get the 3rd part complete, and this mission will be done. Next up, we have data collection. This one is going to be 3 parts and is also a repeat mission from last season. Part 1 is asking us to find and loot a computer. Now, there's a ton of places around the map that have computers. Some buildings may only have one, and there is a couple of places that I like to go to in Al Mazrah City, one being the police station, the other one being the lawyer's office, that actually have a ton of computers in them. Basically, you just need to find a computer and loot it, and part 1 will be complete. Now, part 2 is asking us to extract 2 thumb drives. So in order to do this, you're going to want to find a decent amount of computers like we were talking about for part 1, police stations, and even that lawyer's office that I was talking about do have a ton of computers to access. So you'll be able to loot a majority of these in those two locations that I'm mentioning, and you guys will be able to get the 2 thumb drives in no time. So once you get a hold of 2 of them and you extract them safely, part 2 will be complete. Then part 3 is going to kind of go along with part 2. You'll likely complete them simultaneously. Part 3 is asking us to extract 3 hard drives. Now these hard drives are going to be found in these same computers as the thumb drives. They're not limited to computers. They're just much easier to find in those, and I find if I go to one of the buildings that has a decent amount of the computers in it, I can knock this out in no time flat. I was able to actually exfil with quite a bit more than I needed, but once you manage to extract with the 3 hard drives, the final part will be completed and you guys will be done with this mission. Next up, we have Poisoned Well. This one could be kind of frustrating due to the area that it's located in. This one is going to be 2 parts and it is a repeat mission from last season as well. This one asks us first to acquire 6 gas grenades and 1 deployment. The easy way to do this is to get enough money to have multiple munitions boxes, or if you have other players with you, this will work as well. You'll make sure you infill with the gas grenade so that you have one on you. Then you're going to want to stow the gas grenade that you have, throw down a munitions box, and then pick up the 2 gas grenades from that and make sure you stow them, throw down a munitions box, and kind of just repeat this process. If it doesn't count that you've actually acquired the 6 gas grenades once you have them in your inventory, just make sure you drop them on the ground and then re-pick them up, and it should actually count towards the progress. Then once you have those 6 gas grenades in your inventory, part 1 will be complete. And part 2 is where things get a little tricky. It's asking us to throw 6 gas grenades into the open water wells in Zarqwa Hydroelectric in 1 deployment. Now, even though this is a repeat mission from season 1, it is much more difficult, at least currently in season 2, due to the way the reinforcements are working. The enemies just keep on coming, and it makes it quite a bit more difficult to actually throw the things in the water and kind of move along from spot to spot without getting eliminated. So you're really going to want to have a direct plan on which way you're going to go as far as hitting the pools. And I definitely recommend the way that I do it in today's video. I'll do my best to show you guys the locations of these pools. That way you guys aren't wandering around looking for them. And you guys should be able to go from one to the next pretty quickly. Just make sure before you get here, you load up on plates, you load up on the gas grenades. You basically don't want to have to stop for any reason while you are in Zarqwa Hydroelectric. Eliminate as many enemies as you can, throw the gas grenades, move to the next pool, throw the gas grenade, and just keep moving through them. Once you hit all 6 of them with throwing the gas grenades in it, this part and mission will be complete. Next up, we have a helping hand. This one is going to be 3 parts. Part 1 is asking us to place 1 bottle of gun oil in the back of the Enfer store at the Said shopping center. So this is actually extremely difficult just based on the fact that the bottle of gun oil seems to be extremely rare. The best place that I found to do this was on the outskirts of Al Mazrah, as there are a ton more toolboxes in this area than there are other places on the map. You're going to be heavily relying on these toolboxes to find not only the gun oil, but another part of this mission specifically. I just definitely recommend loot as many of these toolboxes as possible. I just hope you get lucky enough to find one. Once you get your hands on that gun oil, you're going to make your way to Said City Mall. You're going to make your way to the roof, and you're going to want to be on the left side of the building and then on towards the front side a little bit, and you'll see a little stairwell. You're going to go down the stairwell 1 flight of stairs. Then you're going to take the doorway on the left, and it'll lead you to the back of a store location. Just down below on the ground, it will have a little queue to actually place the gun oil, and you'll be able to place that down, and part 1 will be complete. Now, part 2 is going to take you to the exact same location, but it's asking us to place 1 C4 in that same location. The good news here is that C4 is not only easy to find, but you can actually just infill with C4 as your lethal, and you'll already have that in your inventory ready to go for this mission. You'll just go back to that same location as we did in part 1, drop off that C4, and this part will be complete. Now, part 3 is asking us to place an electric drill in the same location. So we're going to go back to that same store location. This time we need an electric drill. The electric drills are going to be found pretty much in the exact same places that you are going to be looking for the bottles of gun oil through those toolboxes. So if you go to the same area, you should be able to actually grab not only the gun oil, but the electric drill as well. If you manage to get your hands on one of these and just want to play it safe to drop it off, you're welcome to do so, as it does not require you to do these each in the same deployment. So you are welcome to go and do one at a time if you would like to. I chose to do it all at once. You do not have to, but I try to go to this place as little as possible. So I wanted to knock it all out in one shot. But once you get all 3 of these items placed in the Enfer store, this mission will be complete. Next up, we have our last and final mission, which is going to be Untraceable. This one is going to be a 3-parter, and you will unlock this from completing 5 of the previous 6 missions that we just covered. Part 1 is asking us to take the weapon from the Satik Caves dead drop. Now, this dead drop location is pretty close to the side, basically, where Zarqwa Hydroelectric is. You're not going to want to go traveling too far into it because you're just going to run into a ton of different enemies. So I'll do my best to show you guys on the map the exact location. That way you guys can just eliminate as little enemies as possible, get to that dead drop, and grab the weapon. But once you get your hands on the weapon, part 1 will be complete. Now, part 2 is going to be asking us to use the weapon to kill the chemist in the same deployment. Now, I think the difficulty of this is going to rely on where the actual location of the chemist is. If it's in certain areas like Al Mazrah, I found it was a little bit more difficult as he does end up over at the embassy, but I got super fortunate that he was very close to the Zarqwa Hydroelectric and the Satik Caves in general. I went over there, I tried to eliminate a few enemies, make sure you're stocked up on gas masks because you're going to really need those in order to wander around in here. Just going to want to eliminate the enemies and kind of try to do your best to bait the location of the chemist. Once you see him wearing that yellow outfit, you're going to want to utilize this sniper rifle that has an infrared scope. So you're going to actually have to be in the gas to do this. And you're going to want to just shoot him in the head. I managed to shoot him in the head twice, quickly eliminated him. Then I was able to just get out of the radiation. And then I was completed with part 2. Now, part 3 is going to ask us to return the weapon to the same dead drop in that exact same deployment. So you're going to be returning to the exact same dead drop in Satik Caves, and you actually need to replace the weapon back in the dead drop. So you're going to go over there, head back to the exact same spot. You may have to deal with a few more enemies on your way, but once you get over to the dead drop, place that sniper rifle back into that dead drop there, and part 3 will be complete. Overall, finishing tier 2 for the Legion faction. And that's going to wrap things up for our mission guide today. Thank you guys for all the support in today's video, all the support on the channel, and I look forward to seeing y'all in the next one. Peace.